As we've been talking about tonight, Chief of Staff John Kelly was thrust into the middle of this debate over making phone calls to Gold Star families by the president himself. On Tuesday, President Trump suggested in a radio interview that reporters should ask Kelly if then President Obama called him when his son was killed in action. Kelly addressed those comments today from the White House podium.
He asked me about previous presidents, and I said I can tell you that President Obama, who was my commander-in-chief when I was on active duty, did not call my family. That was not a criticism. That was just to simply say, I don't believe President Obama called. That's not a negative thing.
When his son was killed, Kelly was serving as military assistant to Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta. He joins me now. Secretary Panetta, you know General Kelly very well. I'm wondering what you made of his press conference today.
Well, you know, because I know John, and because he served me as my military aide when I was Defense Secretary, I have a lot of respect for him and for his service to this country, and for the fact that he did lose his son, and he understands better than anyone the terrible emotions of what's involved when somebody loses their life in the line of duty. At the same time, he is now Chief of Staff. And I think what he was trying to do was a little damage repair today, because this issue, frankly, has gotten a little out of control. And he was trying, hopefully, to put it in a better place. Whether or not he's successful at that still remains to be seen.
When you say he's trying to put it in a better place, is he trying to put it in a better place in terms of for the president, or trying to just put it in a better place, a more respectful place in the national conversation?
I think he's trying to make Americans understand what's involved here when a loved one is lost. I mean, I do think, as much as I regret the kind of politicized debate that's gone on here, I do think that one thing that has been important for this country is to remember again that there are men and women in uniform who are serving in dangerous places and putting their lives on the line, and at times losing their lives because they love this country. And I think it's important to remember that. And I would wish that the focus would be on those men and women who are willing to serve and put their lives on the line, and on the families that have lost loved ones. That's where the focus ought to be.
It does seem like this is a conversation that probably would not have been, that we would not be having, and there would not be such a public conversation if it hadn't been for President Trump essentially deflecting a question about why he had not spoken up over the course of 12 days about the death of 4 service members in Niger, deflecting that, which I guess he interpreted as a hostile question or some sort of inherent criticism of him, by criticizing former presidents about their treatment of Gold Star families.
I think what happens with this president in particular is that he has a bad habit of, when he's asked a question that is uncomfortable or that raises questions about whether or not he handled something correctly, that he tends to look for scapegoats, and he tries to change the issue. And the first thing he usually does is either go back to President Obama and how he handled it, or other presidents handled it, and tries to raise issues that somehow justify how he handles things.
I want to play something that General Kelly said during the press conference today. Get your reaction.
You know, when I was a kid growing up, a lot of things were sacred in our country. Women were sacred, looked upon with great honor. That's obviously not the case anymore, as we see from recent cases. Life, the dignity of life, was sacred. That's gone. Religion, that seems to be gone as well. Gold Star families, I think that left in the convention over the summer. But I just thought the selfless devotion that brings a man or woman to die on the battlefield, I just thought that that might be sacred.
Incredibly, obviously, very powerful words. I mean, they could be interpreted in different ways, I guess, depending on how you see them. It could be an implicit criticism of the tone and the tenor of this overall conversation. But then again, General Kelly is the chief of staff for a president who, you know, during the conventions, which General Kelly was referencing, you know, did go after a Gold Star family who made a public criticism of the president during the conventions. You know, obviously the president has made past comments about women. That certainly raised a lot of questions.
I think John Kelly is not a politician. He has never been a politician. He's a Marine. He's dedicated to the mission that this country's involved with. He's dedicated to whoever is commander-in-chief. And John, you know, speaks from the heart. So I respect, you know, John's feelings here. But I think John also has to recognize that when he goes out there, he's no longer a four-star Marine. He's chief of staff to President Trump.
Secretary Panetta, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next tonight.